The important thing which we emphasize here is to understand learning how to learn. That is very important here. How we can learn, and already there are some senior scholars, they have said that learn, unlearn and relearn is the way to go in this era, when we think that how they are going to manage the power of knowledge, the knowledge representation, knowledge organization, knowledge management is very important. Google has given us so much knowledge, how much information is available. How we can convert data to knowledge, data to information to knowledge, and ultimately to the wisdom needs to be captured properly. Then personal mentoring for self-guided discovery. And in this, the coming to the robot-proof university education. I think there is one book also on the same title of robot-proof university education. If you see Sony, perhaps you may be remembering, he's a very, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but considered to be the one of the youngest professors of MIT, Mr. Pranav Mukherjee, Mistry, more famous for his sixth sense technology, in which he had some, those sensors, and you click it and then the picture is taken. Last year, I think during somewhere October, with the Sony Expo there, they have displayed some humanoids. And already I think Sophia or Sophie got the first passport or something. These things, they are coming up very soon. So these way, I think those things, they are going to change the world of means how the things are happening in the field of open and distance learning. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for your wonderful presentation, for a very beautiful presentation with practical ideas. Now, without wasting any more time, I would like to hear from Dr. Lokjamba.
Thank you very much, Thirubhadur Khurka sir and Jenny Rai madam. Thank you so much. Good morning from London. How many minutes you are going to give me? 10 minutes?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay, right. I'm going to link with the notion raised by Professor Luskin and Dr. Ramesh, Professor Sharma, about the knowledge, and from the psychology perspectives of from Professor Luskin, and the speed of knowledge by Ramesh Sharma, Professor Ramesh Sharma. About 100 years ago, almost 100, in 1921, Mark Scheller from he's a Germany, he has written a book, Problem Sociological Knowledge, and he classified and patronized, and he divided the mobility of speed, what Dr. Sharma mentioned. Mobility of knowledge. In the basis of mobility of knowledge, he divided knowledge into 6 different categories. And now we are talking about the knowledge that generated by science and technology, formulas, and all kind of thing that moves. The mobility of that knowledge is very fast. And Mr. Scheller, Mark Scheller, said that the mobility will be keep changing in a matter of day, but now it came into in a second. That is what we're going to talk about today. And in the context of learning, the technology in the context of learning, I have slightly different view than the Professor Luskin and Professor Sharma. I think distance learning has been taken over or erased or changed into or progress into online learning. There is no distance. That is the reason why we are in the same platform. Even though I am delivering this my talk from London, and Professor Luskin is I think from America, and Dr. Sharma is from Delhi, and all other our colleagues from different parts of Nepal across the country. And because of this, technological power has changed into online, and online formation we are using to generate knowledge and skills. And I have a 15 years experience using online teaching and learning. And I have a good experience in Nepal, and we do improvise different kind of things, even going nearer to the ridge line. When I go to village, now I'm here because of the COVID lockdown, but while I'm in Nepal, in my village, I have to go near to the ridge line of my house, 5 minutes walk. Then only I will be able to do my internet and connecting with the network and teaching and learning process, teaching MPL students of Nepal Open University. So these are the thing what this information technology and technology has changed and converted and brought us into this stage. And I'll give you some of the, that is the reason why I said that there's no distance, and there's only online learning. And distance used to be in 1969 when Open University of United Kingdom came into existence, but that is now online, and we are doing this conference as well as online in one platform. In my experience, this technology, this online technology, this information technology is that strong. And that moving fast, and now I think, I do not know, we are whether we are driving information technology or technology is driving us, but this is very powerful. And I'll give you one or two my experience. Last year, while I was traveling from France to Switzerland, nearby the no man's land, I used my mobile phone, as Professor Luskin has shown us, mobile phone to use, phone to teach in Nepal, MPhil student from NOU on the move, in the bus, on the move. I've just requested permission, and I was just listening their presentation and only minimize my talking and input, and able to do my lesson, 3-hour lessons, all the way from across the no man's land. That is on the move. And the other experience, while I was in my village last year, after that, after summer last year, I will just in my cardamom farming, and Vice Chancellor of Open University, I received, there was a Teams was ringing, and I just checked my mobile. There was a call from Vice Chancellor of Nepal Open University, and he asked me, "Where are you, Chandra?" And I said, "I'm just I'm in the middle of the cardamom farming. I'm in my village, far away from Kathmandu." And he said, "Will you be able to attend a meeting with the scholars from Finland?" And I said, "Okay, we'll go for." And I was able to do that, even in the middle of the cardamom farming, to complete that meeting and achieve our goal. So that indicates how strong these technologies in the teaching and learning process and communicating, and there is no boundaries, and there is no international boundaries and borders, and we're all jailed in one place and erasing the distance and coming together in online mode. We are, another example I'm going to give you, those who are here participating and moderating and conducting this conference are the majority, and all of them are, I think majority are from MPhil scholars from Nepal Open University. And they have learned all this skill, moderating skill, presenting skills, and knowledge and skills by means of online learning, not meeting, not going into the classroom, beyond the boundaries of the classroom, sitting in different parts of the country, Nepal, across the country, from Taplejung to Dachula, from Koilali to Jhatpa, their sitting room, resting place, wherever they are comfortable on their own pace, they were able to use this technology and generating knowledge. And now they are here in the process of generating knowledge and skills and participating internationally and presenting their skill to the international scholars like Professor Luskin and Professor Sharma. This is what the power of information technology and the technology we are currently. And this is moving ahead, as Mark Scheller has written in his book. This is moving ahead, not in a day, not in a second, it in a fraction will change, keep changing. So to catch up this fast changing, speed, acceleration, we need to accelerate our learning as well. We need to continuation, otherwise we'll become obsolete. Especially those knowledge based in technology and mechanical based knowledge will obsolete within 24 hours, and other kind of knowledge also will obsolete if we do not keep learning continuously. So that is the reason why the lifelong learning is necessary, and learning need to be lifelong. And in the process, and if we successfully apply the continuation learning and the advancement of technology, then we'll be able to convert our community and society learning to knowledge-based society, global society, and that sooner or later convert into knowledge economy. That is what we are looking, and that is what we are trying to materialize, concretize, and solidify to face the changing challenges like COVID. Thank you very much. You're muted, Tirsa.
You are mute. You're on mute.
Thank you, Dr. Lokzamba, for your insightful ideas. So now we'd like to go to Dr. Luskin again. Dr. Luskin, many universities in the developing countries like Nepal faced different difficulties in terms of technological preparations and use for effective online teaching and learning practices during COVID-19 pandemic. And still they are facing multiple challenges. Very briefly, what kinds of models they could follow so that they could improve their online teaching and learning practices? So what do you like to say on it?
Well, two things. One is you have to personalize the learning experience, especially now, because it's called remote learning or whatever. And there's not enough contact in many cases between the teacher and the students. If you're going to do it in education, you really have to take the initiative to communicate with the students, because the students are lost, especially now. In the United States, there's been such a large-scale shift, and the people haven't been educated in the process enough yet. So the number one thing you can do is maintain your communication, because all communication is critical, and you can't just make assignments and expect them to come back, because many of the students are just, how you would call them, partially lost.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Luskin. Now, okay. I like to come to Dr. Sharma. Dr. Sharma, actually, can you share your observation on the technological preparations and use of the universities of South Asian countries like Nepal, India? What do you think, what we missed or we had to do for better practice of online teaching and learning practices during COVID-19 pandemic? Or how can we improve the situation?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Katka. I think one of the important factors is to understand that how we can improve online facilitation. That is very much important. And online facilitation, it works on various principles. Let me share some of them, that how we can understand our learners better, the way of the pedagogical principles they are adopted, for that, and the involvement of the tool for that. And important thing here is that when we are into online discussions, then there are certain terms which we have used, like engagement of them, interactions, learning conversations, and summarizing and weaving of the discussions, the thoughts which are shared by them. As a teacher, how we can do that? So that is very much important, and how we can promote reflective learning among the students, like the kind of articulation, commenting, and providing feedback. Since Nepal Open University is organizing this in distance education, those of you who are from distance education field, and if you have developed a curriculum for distance education, you may be knowing that we say that in distance education, for feedback, for evaluation and assessment purpose, there are around 8 or 9 kind of comments, which as a teacher, which give on the assessment for the students, like positive comment, negative comment, hollow comment. Hollow means you just said something okay. I mean, okay doesn't mean anything. So there are these kind of things which we need to be focusing uh, uh, to make these things successful.
Okay, thank you, Sharma, Dr. Sharma. Now, I'd like to request Dr. Chandra Lokjamba. Dr. Lokjamba, despite living in the West and contributing in the academia here, you are also contributing in the universities of Nepal. So, what factors should we consider in order to manage properly the students' enrollment, smooth learning, and successful online, successful completion of their courses in the universities of Nepal? Could you share some of the ideas, Dr. Lokjamba?
Thank you. Thank you very much. The question you have raised, we have already answered by our practical work by the Nepal Open University. I'm here since, for example, I'm here since March, February here, and using these online methods, means this technology, we have enrolled students from different parts of the country by taking entrance exam, and by means of contact session, we carried out induction program, then successfully completed the whole semester, and the batch which we have done in that way is now sitting for the exam in next week. And I'm here. I never seen them. I'm working from here, and our colleagues are working from different part of the country, and the majority are in Kathmandu, and we are just successfully deliver the whole, semester, and assignment as well, and also conducted examinations, one lot of examination about a month ago, and the next one is going to be in a week time. So this is an example how effectively we are using, and how effectively we are successful. And I think yourself, who participated, who said exam on that model, isn't it? Spending a month, spending a week for one subject, and writing, and lots of students' comments were. It was very effective, effective than 4 hours writing, and effective and generated more knowledge. So these are the indicators of successful, how successfully Nepal Open University conducted exam and all these things. And because of the COVID-19 also added more strength and flavor to online teaching and learning in Nepal. Otherwise, other universities, existing conventional university, used to hesitate to take online model, and they were just hesitate what kind of knowledge is generating by the NOU. But our this practical, what we are doing currently, and the knowledge generated by our teaching and learning process, what currently yourself moderating this conference, very successfully in the manner highly. There is no any differences from any product of Harvard and Oxford or Delhi or Ambedkar University. There is no different. So that is the indication how successfully online teaching and learning conducted and knowledge imparted to our learners. And this is the indicator which our two professors, Professor Luskin and Professor Sarmas, are able to seeing and experiencing with us. Thank you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lokzamba, for a beautiful idea. Now we are entering into the QA session, QA round. Jenny, over to you.
Thank you, Athir. Actually, we are also running a little out of time. We already are in 12, it's 12:16 here. That means we have around 10 to 12 minutes. So in this set time, I couldn't see much question there in the chat box, but there was one from Dr. Edward. It was quite early. He put the question there quite early. And I would like to ask the same question to all the three panelists, and I want you to answer them. Though Dr. Sarma has tried to speak on that, he has even shared the link over there, but I would like to request you to speak it out here within the short time frame. And the question, I'll put it for every one of you. What not to do in implementing online technologies? What not to do? So in few minutes, Dr. Luskin, I would like to start from you, Dr. Luskin.
That's a hard question. What not to do? I think that the biggest thing not to do is to not make things overcomplicated and bring as much help as you can until people get more sophisticated, because systems the learning systems are very complicated, especially for people who haven't had a lot of experience. So I think always think simple and always reach out and think about communication with the student.
Thank you. Thank you for your enlightenment over there. Okay, now the same question, Dr. Sarma, you have already tried to answer it there, but I would want to listen to that for all the participants here. Please, something on that one.
Okay, there are few things if we want to make it successful. Number one is that keep the communication channel on. So if we are saying it, what not to do is that it will be very bad that if we do not reply to the communications or emails of the students, and then giving them the proper space, the kind of respect. Do not show bias, do not be ambiguous, do not ignore the participants, and these are very important things, because if that happens, a student goes back, and not only one student will go back, along with them 10 more students may drop and go back. So those are the things not to do. Never ignore, do not fail in replying to the communications of the participants properly.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was really in time. And now, Dr. Luxembourg, yes, anything more to add on it from your side?
Could you repeat question again, please?
Okay,
I just missed out a few things because of the network.
Fine. What not to do in implementing online technologies? What not to do on implementing them? Online technologies, probably in classes, in education modality, is what not to do. Yes.
Right. This is the online mode of teaching learning is it's a quite tricky one as well. So to avoid all these things, I think if it is possible, not to, always make your students visible. So then you can at least be able to interact with them naturally. So you'll be able to see their body languages and all these things. If you put them in hide, video off, then you'll not be able to see whether your students are there or not. Sometimes they will just switch on and just disappear from the scene. That is what I think we have to stop and not to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely. Now there is one special question. I think it is for Luxembourg, to Luxembourg. There is your name on it, so probably it is you who have to answer this one. How much share that the knowledge power takes in teachers, in particular classroom interpretive of technology, maybe interpretation of technology?
How much power?
How much share that the knowledge power takes in teachers, in particular classroom, irrespective of technology. How much share that the knowledge power takes in teachers, in particular classroom, irrespective of technology. By Ved Prasad.
Irrespective of
technology.
Irrespective of technology, how much power will be?
A knowledge power. Yes, that a teacher
knowledge power will be shared.
No. I think it means how much share of knowledge power. That means how much power the knowledge or the experience of the teachers share. Even though we have technology, if it is not there, probably.
May I add a very simple point and what my concept is there?
Fine, yes.
As a teacher, we believe that we should be subject matter experts. Yeah. Okay, that is the basic thing which is expected from all of the teachers. But there is another reality is that we cannot remember, we cannot know all of the subject because there was so much developments happening every day. So my belief is that if I do not know a thing, anything, it means if there is any concept of what, I should be knowing that from where I can find that.
Yeah.
I may not be knowing something, but I should know that where I can find that information.
Yes.
So to me, the answer to this question is that we should nowadays be more acting as a facilitator of learning rather than teacher or teaching some concept. Let us show the path because it is the era of an independent learner, the self-independent learner. Those of you who have some science background, or if you are teaching your kids science subject, you know that we call it as DIY, do it yourself. There are many DIY kits available in the market for various things. In learning, in education, we have converted that term to LIY, learn it yourself. So my job is that I will guide you, I will tell you that you can find it from there and learn it from there. So that goes into that as a teacher, as a facilitator of learning. And here the technology can be a tool, but you may not be even using the technology. And another question of Ed Valva, when he was asking what not to do, is never use a kind of technology which our students do not have access to. I may be an expert in Second Life. I have given just recently a presentation on virtual reality in a Turkey conference. But if I start teaching using that and my students, they are not able to use, my session is going to be failed. So
yeah, definitely.
I think that I can share on the basis of my experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now we are almost at the end of the session. It's already 12:25 as given time to us. So at the very end, if there is something you want to say in like probably 30 seconds, each panelist, if you like to add anything at the end, you may, and then we will go to, we will be ending the panel discussion for today. So, Dr. Bernard or Dr. Sarma or Dr. Lakshmi, yes.
I would add a comment.
Yes.
I think this conference is very important, and I think the fact that we're here together is a major step with people from all over the world, from so many countries, speaking together and beginning to work together, because the internet is pervasive. It goes everywhere, but there are geographic boundaries and language barriers. So the more experience we get together, working together, we're all going to do. So I think this is a milestone meeting to remember. And if we come back 10 years from now, it will be interesting to see what progress has been made.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Dr. Luskin. Now, Dr. Laksamba, you're...
Okay, right. We are talking about the information technology, and those are with the things those who are able to use and have. But where there are majority of, especially developing countries like Nepal, the majority have-nots are marginalized. Okay. And the knowledge is generating itself there, and that needs to be also bring into the mainstream, and which is really important to think about those who are currently talking about the information technologies you are using in the teaching and learning. But there are huge mass of, learners are marginalized because of their economic capacity, not able to buy gadgets what we're supposed to use for this one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Dr. Sarma?
Okay, I will have a quick, only 3 points to be submitted at the end. Be ready to take small risks, not big risks, small risks. Play with the ideas and keep an open mind. That is my concluding.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear valuable panelists, all the participants, my moderator friend Thiel. Thank you, everybody. We are happy that we were able to discuss on the, let's say, the most discussed topic on about online and distance learning in this COVID pandemic situation. Everyone, almost every day we talk about it, and we are using it. We are knowing its pros and cons, and we are still learning it. In Nepal, we are still in the learning phase. We are yet to reach to the places that Dr. Sarma or Dr. Luskin or Dr. Laksamba said. We are yet to reach to that height. By saying this much, I'd be saying goodbye. It's a goodbye from me, and hopefully meet you on some other platforms, on other places. Thank you so much. It's goodbye from my side. Third.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have good time ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, now probably we have another station coming up after us. So it's a goodbye from us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Hikmat Bhandari.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are hearing you, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now it's your turn now. Your whole session is yours.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Namaste. And warm welcome to you all in 2020 STAR Conference, Kathmandu. This is the parallel session in room number 1. It's me, Kamal Kesi, MPhil scholar, Nepal Open University.
Namaste, I am Hikmat Pandari, MPhil scholar, Nepal Open University.
Without delay, we are going to continue our parallel session. During this pandemic situation, even Nepal government and various private sectors also started television learning. On this situation, the experiences of secondary students, secondary level students, experiences on television learning in COVID-19 crisis. This research has been conducted by Motiram Sijapati, and he's going to present. Motiram Sijapati, sir, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, please, I would like to request you to present your research paper.
Could you allow me for screen sharing? Screen sharing, please. Let me share my screen. I am not able to share my screen. Could you please tell it to the host? Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay.
Good afternoon and namaste to everyone. I am Motiram Sijapati, an MPhil student of Nepal Open University, Faculty of Social Sciences and Education. Today, I would like to express my gratitude to Nepal Open University for providing me this opportunity to present my research title entitled Secondary Students' Experience of Learning on Television in COVID-19 Crisis in Nepal. At the same time, I would like to express my sincere thanks to my research group, Dr. Cordana, for providing me this opportunity as well as guidance. So, let me go further. For carrying out this research, I have broken my presentation down into 7 segments so as to clarify it very well. So first of all, I would like to talk about the context. After context, I will be following the problems identified. Then I'll talk about the research questions, followed by research design. Then I will talk about the secondary students' experiences and their strategies to learn and to promote their learning, followed by findings. And finally, I will conclude my presentation with some of the questions asked by you. Let me go further. Moving further, when the whole world was terrified and it was baffled with the COVID-19 crisis, and everybody was locked and confined into the walls of the homes, it was really difficult to think about continuing learning and teaching activities. Let alone be learning and teaching activities, we were not able to come out of the homes for daily supplies. Life was quite hectic and there were no hopes. People were hopeless, jobless and aimless. At the same time, the government of Nepal, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, when they announced nationwide lockdown, the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology also scheduled a daily teaching and learning plan so that the students of secondary level could continue their learning and promote it. So, how did this thought develop? It developed because available resources could be utilized well. Everybody, especially maximum of the people, especially a majority of the people had televisions at their homes. And if they could use the television for teaching learning purpose, it could enhance their learning and promote. So the government of Nepal, especially Ministry of Education, decided that that's why many students in urban areas could benefit, could be benefited well, and they utilize. And after that, various television channels from a nation, especially NET TV, Net TV, and this home, they started broadcasting, teaching and learning online, that means on television, and students were highly benefited from that. So some of the problems were identified before that. Problems were there were many problems including teaching, learning, health, and it was the problem related to the safety and security of the people. But if we are associated with teaching, learning field, we just focused on teaching, learning, and the learning problems. Especially in the time of COVID-19, many of the schools were shut down, stationaries were shut down, and especially students were quite worried about what to learn, where to get the books like that. And parents also were equally worried about the burden carried out and given by COVID-19. In such scenario, there were so many problems and there was nobody to guide the people what to do and what not to do. So in this confusing situation, television has worked as a remedial instrument, and especially secondary students were highly benefited from that. So I just thought three questions about that. There were millions of questions at that time, but only three questions could occupy my mind. First one, how is secondary students' experience of learning by watching teachers' television on television during COVID-19? Because there are so many types of experiences, but I was just focusing on students' experience of learning and what strategies did they apply when they learned, and finally, how did they manage the time during their learning process? So three questions were given priority, and I just went for taking these three questions simultaneously in my research journey. So it was qualitative interpretive research design, and the semi-structured online interview was employed there. For that, I chose three urban schools, and I just obtained informed consent from the participant. They were voluntarily participated, and after that, I just sent a link in their personal messenger, and they were interviewed individually. The questions were related to the three research questions, and I just took 15 to 20 minutes to interview them individually. The data gathered from them were recorded in Zoom, and later on they were transcribed and they were thematically analyzed. And I also took the support of documents, especially archived documents, to do the data analysis. So when I just collected the documents and when I just took out the data and collected them, I found many of the students copying. Copying is not in the sense of cheating, it is in the sense of imitating. When the presenters and instructors used to teach on television, many of the students used to repeat the sentences, especially difficult terminologies related to science, related to physics, related to chemistry, and related to difficult terminology of English. They used to repeat that after the instructor, after the presenter. That's why some of the students told that they used copying strategies, and some of others told that they used problem solving. Problem solving was related to mathematics, science, and social science, because there were many problems, but the teachers used to present them on the screen, and students used to be thrilled or excited to learn from them because they used to do that through the audio-visual medium. That was very much interesting because many of the students were guided by the traditional teaching and learning, and it was very new and innovative. That's where they could enhance their learning by looking their instructors on television. Next one was comparing and contrasting. Some of the students told that they just followed strategies of comparing and contrasting because there were many television presenters across the nation, and some of them liked some one and some of them liked the other. So there was the comparison between presenters, and they could it could somehow develop the learning capacity of the student, and they could enhance it. And vocabulary learning was another way, and they just could watch movies, fiction, poems, and songs. And sometimes they listen to the songs, and this area provided the extensive exposure to them so that they could learn it well and they could continue their journey of learning. So moving further, I want to talk about the finding, television supported learning. I'm not talking about the linguistic learning. Learning doesn't mean that you can learn about the course material. They learned about the intercultural awareness, because one of the Tharu students told me that he was well known about his own language, but when he similarly and repeatedly watched television serials and television programs in Hindi, he could fluently speak Hindi in 2 months. Next thing, they promoted language learning also. Nepali language was there, English language was there, because we are Nepali, but we are not well known about Nepali language. So when we speak and when we watch daily programs scheduled in television, it could help them to modify or to beautify their grammatical pattern as well as language skills. So some of the students told that during the pandemic, when they were quite idle and isolated, they could learn about cooking recipes, and they told that we are good cook because of looking the cooking recipes and guidelines on the television. So it could help them also. And it is another thing I found in my research is many of the students told that they loved independent learning when they were bounded and they were bounded under the inside the boundary of school premise, and they used to go inside school or class according to the heat of the bell, and they need to come out when the bell rings. But they here in this situation there was nobody to tell them go inside the classroom, come inside the outside the classroom, just to manage the line and so on. So it was quite free time, and there was freedom and liberty. When the mind is free, it can learn well, it can think well, and it can utilize well. It was revealed in the research because when in the school premise, if the student don't do the homework, there is the burden from everywhere. But this time there was no burden. There was nobody to talk with them. There was nobody to facilitate learning, but it was self-motivated learning, self-dependent learning, and it could help the student benefit very well, and they could learn very well. So some of the students told that I was 3 episodes with different subject. I usually was from 5 o'clock onwards, as I also study online, keep myself busy in the day. Navina Thapa Everest School. So I told one of the questions was there, so how could you manage the time in this pandemic? She told that there was the problem that I cannot manage the time. It is time every time because I am free and there is time and it is available for me as nobody goes out of the home. Television is there. So I am learning from this source and it has ignited her to learn. I think we need to take television and online class for vocabulary. So one of the students, Narendra from other school, told that television as well as online classes from computer and other means, it can be taken simultaneously to enhance learning. And another student, Bimala from British school told that I was television from 7 o'clock to 8 a.m. when my parents search for information on search, and other time parents watch the television. So it was the good compromise between parents and their children. So it has been given the same management system to the student and their parents so that they could somehow get news and they can somehow continue their study in the same television, either it is old or new, because the pandemic made the people link with the cable if there was no cable network and try to explore the learning from that resource which was available with them. So at the last, what I want to tell in my conclusion is learning on television enriched various skills. I wanted to explore the linguistic skills, but besides that, it could somehow help the students and secondary students learn various skills, social skills, cultural skills, and linguistic skills. Social skills, many of the students, when they just watched comedy shows, when they watch the live sessions, when they watch the live session about motivation, they could motivate themselves and they could present well. They could know about intercultural relationship and so many things they could learn except linguistic skills, reading, writing, speaking, and other. So sometimes it brought some challenges as it depend on regular power supply. So it is one of the disappointing factor when the students were in the process of learning. In the meantime, there was the power cut, and their curiosity and the enthusiasm to learn got demotivated, and they could not learn well. So there are high chances of learning on television if on condition that if we can manage the alternative of power, especially power cut, and at that time if we can manage alternative power to continue the television learning, it can be beneficial. So television teaching can be integrated in different levels with proper designing system of assessment and feedback. So one of the students told that in my school, especially teachers used to provide me the correction with feedback, and here there is no feedback and there is no assessment. That's why this cannot be as equally important as physical classes. So if we just if the television system with the design of assessment and feedback will be provided, then the students can easily be benefited and it can help in different levels. So further research are required to explore the degree of significance. How important is it? Is it important for all levels or only for secondary level? Is it important to be taught in master levels or level higher than that? It should be researched in the coming days so that it can fill the research gap and provide the learners with sufficient time and with sufficient sufficient benefits for the research. So this is the end of my presentation. Over to you, Hingmat sir.
Thank you, Motiram sir. You have nice presentation. You well done. And I would like to request the participants, if you have any questions regarding to the presentation of Motiram sir, please you can raise the questions on his presentation. If anybody, please.
Okay, thank you, Motiram Sijapati, for your wonderful presentation. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And very nice presentation, well organized presentation. My query is, what about the students' addicted habit towards the television program, other programs, and movies as well? Motiram Sijapati, sir, can you tell
Could you
about
please
that?
repeat it once again? Yeah.
Yeah, what about the students' habit of watching television as an addiction to different programs as well as movies?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the good question. Especially the time is of fashion and modernization. And if we don't tell the student to watch the television for their leisure time, that means we will be violating their rules and rights. But many students in this pandemic were guided by their guardians. Their guardians have allocated them the time to watch television. So in this time, addiction is there. It is here to stay unless we guide our children from our side. Especially if there is no good guardianship, students will be addicted either from television or from other means of learning. But if there is good guidance and supervision and monitoring, there is no way that there will be addiction. It will be one of the instrument for learning, and if we can use it well. But it can be the source of addiction also if they will be given liberty without any mechanism to monitor them. So I think that addiction is there, but we must be there to care them, to guide them, and to monitor them to reduce and remove the addiction. Thank you, sir.
Parents' role is important there. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I have some suggestion for Motiram Sijapati, sir. Can I do it, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, I'll be happy to hear it, sir.
Motiram, sir. This is a type of distance learning. Television learning is kind of distance learning, not online. And then Nepal Open University United Kingdom used to use quite a lot, preparing all lessons and delivering everything on television and contracting media like BBC and local channels and giving time, specific time, just like we used to Nepal television, Nepal radio also used to run something teacher training long time ago and other thing. The similar way of thing Open University used to run, and it was but now it is superseded. I mean overtaken by online learning. No more. You can't find, there's no any television learning. Teaching and learning process, but you can, if you look into the literature basis, if you go into the Open University United Kingdom's site, I think archives, you'll be able to find lots of information about this and you'll be able to use for your research. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Chandra sir. Anybody, please, we have just 1 minute. If you have any other questions, to the Motiram sir, please. So I haven't got any questions on the chat box as well. If you have, please.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I would like to thank our Chandra Laksama sir, and I would like to thank all the participants, and especially I would like to thank my moderator Hikmat sir and the next moderator. And I will be expecting your comments and suggestions for the betterment of my presentation. Thank you. Have a good time.
Okay,
Thank you, Motiram sir.
Yes. Now we have the another presenter. Our next presenter is Mr. Rishiraj Sharma, MPhil Scholars of Nepal Open University. He will present the topics on the stakeholder perceptions in the participation of the policy making and the program development in local level of Nepal's. Rishi sir, are you there?
Yes, Hikmat sir.
Yes,
I'm here.
Proceed your presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, Hikmat sir and Kamal Kesi sir. Good afternoon to respected professors, gurus, and friends. I'm very much pleased to be the part of this STAR conference because of this very great opportunity to present my research work here. Let me share screen. Is it visible, Hikmat sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, please. Yes, Rishi sir. Yes.
Okay. Stakeholders' perception in participation of policy making and program development in local level of Nepal. First of all, I would like to express my hearty gratitude to Chandra Laksamba and Jeevan Khanal sir for giving me good guidance to research in this topic, stakeholders' perception and participation of policy making and program development in local level of Nepal. Namaste again from Rishiraj Sharma, MPhil Scholar, Nepal Open University. While talking about the context or introduction of this research work, Constitution of Nepal has provided 23 rights to the local government through Local Government Operation Act, but the local level have been formulating their policies and program in different ways. We can see the different type of systems in different municipalities. For example, some of the local government have been making their one policy themselves, and others have been making the policy according to the federal policy. If we talk about education policy, we have not seen the federal act even yet, or it is not published. Without publishing the federal act in education, local government have been making their one act and policy somewhere, and some of them have been functioning their work on the basis of only frameworks. So there is differences in different municipalities. And because of controversy of some agendas among province and the government, some of the matters have come into the court also. So how the policies are formulated in the local level? What is the perception of stakeholder about policy making process is the key point of this research work. According to the schedule number 8 of Constitution of Nepal, basic and secondary education is under the list of local level, so that local level can formulate the policy of education of secondary level. They can develop the program, but I have already told that the system of making policy, system of developing program is different, but their guideline is same, that is operation local level, Local Government Operation Act 2074. So why this misunderstanding created? What is the perception of stakeholder to make the policy in local level is the context of this research work. Now, purpose of this research work is to explore the perception of the stakeholder in participation in policy making and program development in local level, or to find out the ways to participate effectively in policy making and program development. How the stakeholders have been participating, either they are involving or not, or the policies are making from bottom-up approach or top-down approach. So what is the perception of stakeholder and what are the ways of involving or how they participate is the purpose of this study. Now, so on the basis of the purpose, I have designed two research questions. How do stakeholders perceive the participation of policy making and program development in the local level? And how do the stakeholders suggest the ways to participate effectively policy making and program development in local? Actually, this study, I think this study is very important at the present scenario of Nepal, because after the establishment of federal government, there are 753 local government, and they have been practicing to develop the program and formulate the policies. They are in even misunderstanding. They are even in confusion how to make. Even the member of municipal and village assembly are in confusion how to pass the policies, how to formulate the policies. So that to find out the stakeholder participations, to find out the ways of participating them, or to find out the system of tying them in the policy making process is the main subject of the research work. So these two research questions are designed. I have reviewed several literatures related to stakeholder participation and policy and program development and its international practices. How people of local level, how the stakeholders of local level formulate the policies in international scenario, and national practice of policy formulation. And while reviewing the literature, I reviewed the National Education Policy 2076 also. This is the conceptual framework of my research work: policy making and program development at local level, and actually their understanding and their ways, how they perceive, what is the system of planning, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating. And actually from top-down approach in the past, when the country was not in federal system, the policy used to make in center. But now it is the practice of making policy in a local level, so that it's very necessary to study the way or the system of planning, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating in the local level. So actually, while talking about theoretical perspective of this research work, Lenny's record participation management theory is linked with this research work. So at last, participation in policy making and program development in local level, the research work will be fulfilled, or this conceptual framework guided the research work. Methodology, actually this is qualitative research, and a constructivist paradigm is used here. Research design is phenomenology, and in-depth interview actually was conducted, and purposive sampling. I actually, while talking about methodology, I select the sample on the basis of my proposal. It is purposive sampling, and the three municipality, Kolpur municipality, Raptisonari village municipality, and Naranapur village municipality, where the municipality from where I obtained the data. And actually, I would like to provide my great credit to Ananta Kumar Podil. He is the Chief of Education Sport, Education, Youth and Sport branch of Kolpur municipality, who provided me several data and the formulated act, rule, and regulation in Kolpur municipality. So credit goes to him, and I want to remember his contribution in my research work. So while talking about methodology, I choose 3 municipalities to obtain the data. Findings: all the members of municipal assembly are not clear about the rights of Local Government Operation Act. Members of municipal and village assembly are responsible. They are main stakeholders to formulate the policy, but even they are in confusion, or they are not completely clear about what the Local Government Operation Act says. They are not oriented properly. One of the member of village assembly, who was 45 years old, during interview, he told that they are in confusion. Only the branch, the head of the branch brought the draft of policy, and they clarify the policy in the village or municipal assembly, and they have to agree. This means that even the member of municipal assembly and village assembly are even in confusion about what is their right and how they make policy. All the stakeholders do not participate in policy making process because of the lack of system. Actually, the systems are not developed in local level, how to tie all the stakeholders. If we talk about education policy, students, guardians, member of SMC, member of PTA are the prime stakeholders, but they are not involved in the local level policy making process yet. I interviewed with them, with the member of chairperson of SMC and chairperson of PTA, but they
They responded that they are laden to implement the policy in the school, but they don't know where and how the policies are made in local level. They are not even invited to policy formulation and program development process in the local level. They have not been there yet, so that all the stakeholders are not participated in policy making process. So the system should be developed. The representative of local level are not properly oriented. Actually, when I interviewed with the member of Blaze and Municipal Assembly, with Deputy Mayor and Mayor also, actually Mayor and Deputy Mayor are a little bit, mostly they are clear, but other members of Blaze Assembly are unaware how the policies are made. Actually, they obey, or they, what you have to say, agree those policies which are made in the branches of the municipal office, and the head of the branch is bring the policies, and they have to agree, clapping in the village assembly. So they are still in confusion. This means they are not properly oriented about policy making process. So teacher, students, member of SMC are not involved in the policy making process because they are not tied by the system. So it is necessary to build, or it is necessary to what we have to design the system, how to tie all the stakeholders, how to make their ownership in the policy making process of local level. It is necessary. So that systems should be built in local level to tie them, to make them involved in policy making process. And formulating dynamic plans, but structural plans are in indifference. This means structural plans are necessary. First of all, structural plans only guide how to make the involvement or effective involvement of the stakeholders. So structural plans are necessary together with the dynamic plans. So dynamic plans are focused there in local level or by the local government, but making structural plans are lack, or structural plans are in indifference. They are ignoring the structural plans in local level. Some of the members of municipal assembly feel guilty because that they have much ideas about policy formation. One of the member of village assembly of Raptisunari municipality told me during interview that they feel guilty because some of the people ask them about the policy, but they don't know how they made and what is there in the policy. They could not answer to the citizen or to the people of their area, so that they feel guilty and they need some kind of orientation. And they replied that they told me that it is very necessary to discuss in the small group, small session or small group before presenting in the village assembly, so that they could be very clear about what and how and what are the policies, so that they are feeling guilty. This means even after the 3 years of time, they are not completely oriented about the policy making process. They received some designed policies from somewhere and they agreed in the village and municipal assembly and they passed. This is the present system of local level in Nepal about policy making process. So they told during the interview that head of the branches clarifies the policies and it passes in the municipal assembly. This means every branches of the municipal office brings, or the head of, or the expert or head of the branches brings the policies and they clarifies, and the village and municipal assembly member of village and municipal assembly think that they are the expert and that should be agreed. In this way, this is the system of passing policies and programs in a local level. Some of the stakeholders are only laden to implement the policies, or they are actually, if we talk about education policy especially, the prime stakeholders means teachers, head teachers, SMC member, students. They never attend in the policy making process, but they are obliged to implement in school, so that some of the stakeholders which are prime stakeholder, if they participate in the policy making process, they can put their very good agendas representing the guardians etc, but this is lack because of the system of local level, which is not actually built in the local level. So now recommendation, system of including all the stakeholders should be built in local level. Legal provisions should be made so that all the stakeholders can legally participate in making process. Bottom-up approach should be applied in the needs of society are addressed. Policy making process should be addressed to address the diversity of the society. All the members of municipal and village assembly have equal opportunity to participate in the discussion. These are the recommendation of my research work, and I want to again express my heartily gratitude to Jivan Khanal sir, Chandra Laxamba sir, for very good guidance for this research study. And I want to give my great credit to the Chief of Education, Sport and Youth branch of Kolpur Municipality, Anant Kumar Podel sir, for his great contribution for my research work. And thank you very much, Hikmat sir and Kamal sir. This is my presentation, and queries are welcome, and I am waiting for your very valuable questions. Thank you very much, Hikmat sir and Kamal sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rishiraj Sharma, for a wonderful presentation. Now, I would like to request all the participants to put their queries and suggestions if you have. Please. In the chat box, there are so praiseworthy words for Rishiraj Sharma sir. From Parasmani Acharya, awesome presentation. From KP Lamsal, wonderful presentation. Once again, I request participants to put their queries or suggestions. Please.
Can I make some suggestion to Rishi Sharma sir?
Yes, sir. Dr. Chandra sir, please, sir.
Thank you. Rishi sir, interpretivism in methodology, interpretivism is yes, but you have to think about constructivism, and you have to add in-depth interview, in-depth phenomenology. So if there is a phenomenology design, you have to go in-depth. Purposive sampling is okay, but you are going to purposively select the policymaker locally, those who has the same experience. So how you are going to select your and justify your sample, purposive sampling? First, how you are going to get, how many municipality you're going to, at least you need 8 to 10
Thank you very much.
person to answer, experiencing same experience.
Thank you very much, sir.
In the making policy.
Thank you very much, sir, for very good suggestion about methodology. And the last query about selecting the 8 and 9 municipalities regarding purposive sampling. I conducted interview, a face-to-face interview in 3 municipalities of Banka district, and I received Education Act and Framework from 3 municipalities of Dang and 3 municipalities of Bardia. From 6 municipalities, I received the secondary data, means the formulated act and rule regulation and framework of their municipality, and I conducted interview, face-to-face interview, in-depth interview with the stakeholders in 3 municipalities of Banka districts. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. So this is the proposal you're going to use for your MPhil, or this presentation is the basis of your journal article?
Actually, this is for journal article to publish in journal, sir. But for MPhil thesis, I will start my study and I will increase the data and everything. But actually, it was done for journal article.
Okay, right. In that case, I think you better take 8 to 10 samples having same experience, policy making process, what they are feeling experience, and the guidance is not clear. That kind of experience, I think they're facing currently by the local level of policy makers in the context of education.
Thank you, sir.
Am I right? So that is you have to go in depth interview how they are feeling. Okay, that is my suggestion. Thank you very much,
sir. I will try my better.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Laksama, for your precious suggestions regarding Rishiraj Sharma, sir. Can you see chat box? There is one question from B. Prasad Acharya. Rishiraj Sharma, sir. The question is, as you said, what kind of problems did you face during data collection?
Thank you very much, sir, for question. Actually, while collecting data, actually some of the municipalities are the branch of education, youth and sport were a little bit doubtful to give me the act and rule regulation of them formulated there, because actually they are also in confusion that some of the rules and regulation may be controversy with the federal act and etc. So it was a little bit difficult to get all the data like frameworks, rules and regulation. But in other context, it was easy to obtain the data. I did not find other difficulties. Thank you, Bim sir. Bim sir, for your very good question.
I think there are no more queries regarding this presentation.
Do we have time for a question? Okay, I would like to ask a question if you have some time.
Sorry, sir. Just time is over. You can put your queries on chat box, and Rishira Sharma will address you personally. The time is over.
No problem. Okay.
Okay. Now we would like to request to proceed another moderator, Dr. Keith Wright.
Yes, we will have the break.
Greetings, namaste. Let's see here. Let me just check one thing here. Okay, have a presentation on to showcase Nepali culture. Okay, I want to verify that everyone can see an image of Dr. Dr. Chomsky. Can everyone see an image of Dr. Chomsky?
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, so again, I'm pleased to have another opportunity to showcase Nepali culture, and this is starting with a statement with Dr. Chomsky on internationalism. Then we'll proceed on to women in art, and including cultural dances, music, and some short stories. This will promote a variety of different aspects of specific areas and indigenous people of Nepali, their voices, and also the other aspect of Nepal tourism. I want to thank you for watching.
Do you think the world is turning more authoritarian, more anti-people, more anti-human? And do you think the socialist alternative are more relevant in days to come?
Things are going in both directions. The question is which will prevail. It's a major crisis. At the international level, there is, on the one hand, the progressive international. On the other hand, there's a reactionary international being crafted from Washington, the White House, the Trump administration. It includes Bolsonaro's Brazil, Modi's India, Al-Sisi's Egypt, Orban's the Gulf dictatorships, MBS in Saudi Arabia, Orban's Hungary. That's one constellation. Progressive international is another constellation. It's a major conflict that's going to determine the fate of the world.
Mithila paintings have been practiced in southeastern Nepal for centuries, but Sailu never thought she would be doing this professionally. A few years ago, she was in a marriage where she didn't have much say, and she went through depression when her husband left for another woman. That was when she turned to the art to find release and independence.
There has been a lot of changes in my life since I started making Mithila paintings. I've been earning money, I have a son, my husband is living with another woman. I'm living a good life.
Many women in Janakpur are repressed and aren't given much choices.
Women have to cover their faces, and they're not allowed to talk to anyone. They have to stay inside the house. And if a woman talks to anyone, she's beaten. They've been put under a lot of pressure.
But with Mithila art, many women like Sailu are opening up. After waking up and preparing her food, she goes to the Janakpur Women Development Center and spends the rest of her day drawing. Traditionally, Mithila images were drawn on mud walls, but they now feature on clothes, handmade papers and canvases. The center has also helped commercialize the art, and these women can now sell their artworks in touristic areas in Nepal and abroad. Mithila art is made mostly during festivals celebrating marriages and births, religious and social events and ceremonies. The paintings often depict deities from the ancient epics, such as the marriage rituals of Lord Ram and Sita and different kinds of animals and trees.
In Mithila art, we draw pointed noses. The nose is drawn small and eyes big. Madesi has big eyes, and that is why we make pictures with big eyes. This is what separates Mithila art from other art forms.
And with the money, Sailu now got a new life. Many women like her are able to send their children to school, build toilets, support their families, and even buy lands. It's a skill that is passed down from generation to generation, from mother to daughter. And Sailu wants more women to learn this art.
I want to teach Mithila art to my daughter-in-law, so that even if my son doesn't give her money, she can use her skills to have a good life like myself. I want to teach this art to other artists and make their life easier. I want to make them big artists.
Wanted to do is to organize the first large exhibition on contemporary art from Nepal in Europe. This was maybe the main motivation, and the second one, and I would say equally important, was a very personal interest, because for me, myself, it was a new experience to learn what's going on in the contemporary art scene.
It's of course contemporary art, but also all artists or artwork after 1950 we have brought in, both contemporary and traditional, and also from Mithila. So these are the three areas covered. There are several more. Nearly 50 artists have come here, are showing their paintings, their work, and about 100 artworks. So such a large number of artworks of Nepal has not been shown in European cities, perhaps nowhere else, and such a variety.
This is an ethnographic museum which showcases collections of different parts of the world of very early periods. And when it was decided to make this exhibition of contemporary art, it was very important to show that contemporary art of Nepal does not only mean these modern arts, but then the very traditional art that has been practiced in Nepal since the 5th and 6th and even earlier centuries is still continuing today.
I think normally when people come to see Nepali art, they expect the traditional art, the religious art, but they would not expect contemporary art. And of course, this is so important to bring together the tradition, the traditional notion, and to see what is going on at the moment in Nepal, to see the vibrant scene of the contemporary art in Nepal, to also to see that a lot of women are being active in a creative way, and to see the mixture between tradition, global impact, international, and I think this will be such a big surprise for many people coming to see the exhibition.
मलाई त एकदमै खुसी लागेको छ विशेष गरेर यत्रो ठुलो म्युजियममा हामी नेपालीहरूले चान्स पाउने धेरै ठुलो कुरा हो र यति सामानहरू उहाँहरूले लिएर आउनु भएको छ कलेक्ट गरेर हाम्रो विशेष गरेर आइ एम सो ह्याप्पी किनभने हाम्रो यङ आर्टिस्टहरूले यति चान्स पाएको छ यसमा मलाई आइ एम रियली ग्रेटफुल टु दिस म्युजियम
I think this is very important exhibition as a Nepali artist exhibiting outside of Nepal. Individually, I have been traveled around, exhibited in different museums and galleries internationally around the globe, but it is in individual level, as an personal individual level. But having this into the this scale, it's significantly important.
आंसू खसाली रोई रहे थे जीवन बन को बीच खोजी खोजी कतई न पाई मेरा मन का चीज टूटे फुटे का आशा माथी नयन दुखी का नीरा कहाँ कहाँ को कता कता को मेरो मन को पीरा लालसाले मोहनी को रूप गरी धारण बोली गहना झल्काई रुन्छौ तिमी कुन कारण विलास को यो महल मनोहर हुन्छु म तिम्री रानी मैले बोले हुन्छ सबै यो भोलि धुलो र खरानी कुबेर बोले नोकरी लेऊ दिन्छु म दौलत अनगिन्ती मेरा सेवक हेर उज्याला सेज सुनौला झुल्छन् ती मैले बोले धनका मालिक सम्झन्छु धनको मोल अन्तस्करणको स्वतन्त्रता यो तर छ आहा अनमोल ताज सुनौलो माथ लगाई यस आई फुसलायो मेरो पछि पछि आऊ भाइ मौका सुन्दर आयो छाट काटमा मिलिकन आऊ परिचित गर्छु तिमीलाई मैले बोले चित्रा लाउँछु टेक्दछु सत्यमा भाइ शक्ति प्रियाले आई बोलिन् दिन्छु म मिठो मेवा मैले बोले मेरो अमृत मानिसहरूको सेवा योगी बोले चढाऊ समाधि खुल्छ तिमीकन स्वर्गद्वार मैले बोले हेर्नु छ मैले भाइहरूको घरबार बोले इन्द्र ससुरपुर सुन्दर झिलिमिली मेरो दरबार मैले बोले पाल्नु छ बत्ती अझ छ अँध्यारो संसार दुःखले बोल्यो काँडा बिचला मैले बोले फुल्ला फूल शङ्का बोली फूल न फुल्ला मैले बोले स्वस्थ छ मूल जीवन बोल्यो समर छ भीषण मैले बोले गदगद वीर कठिनाइले बोली पहाड छ बोले छुन्छु कि स्वर्गै शिर धर्म बोले कुन मन्दिरमा पूजा गर्छौ आऊ मैले बोले वीरहरूको बलिदान भएको ठाउँ सहानुभूतिले सकरुण बोलिन् तब किन रुन्छौ भाइ मैले बोले समय छ छोटो सेवा गर्न मलाई दोस्त कहाँ छन् साथ छ को घर हो तिम्रो कुन देश जान्छौ कुन पुर भवन मुसाफिर ल्यायौ कुन सन्देश दोस्त मेरो शुभ उद्योगी साथ छ साहस बेश विश्व सबै घर हृदयपुरीतिर ल्याउँछु सेवा सन्देश हामीले किन भुलेनौ अब नमछु न तिमी नै छौ बोला बोला पाखाहरू यो फुलले काखहरू बोला बोला पाखाहरू यो फुलले काखहरू किन होला हिजो आज बाटो छेक्छन् आँखाहरू आँखाहरू हो आँखाहरू आँखाहरू हो आँखाहरू त्यही रातको कुरा हो यो हाम्रो हिसाब किताब पुरा भयो हामी हिँड्ने थियौँ एक सडकमा एक कुनामा तिमी एक कुनामा म जाडो थियो साह्रो थियो हात छुटाउन साह्रै गाह्रो थियो बितेका क्षण सबै अति प्यारो थियो अब नमछु न तिमी नै छु सुन कथा एउटा गीतहरू हो या हो कि झिल कस्तो साइनो बाँधी ल्यायो भन मेरो प्यारो यो कथा हो तृष्णा मेरो मुटुको पाना भरि भरि लेखेको सम्झाउँदैछु तिमीलाई यो कथा हो तृष्णा मेरो माया बसेछ मितेरी साइनोमा किन होला हिजो आज बाटो छेक्छन् आँखाहरू 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 बोला बोला पाखाहरू हिउँ फुल्ने
बाध्या छैन भन्दैमा पखेलीमा घाँस काट्न जाने छैन भन्दैमा मलाई नेपाली हैन भन्न कहाँ पाइन् केही मिठो बात गर रात त्यसै ढल्किँदैछ केही मिठो बात गर रात त्यसै ढल्किँदैछ भरे फेरि एकान्तमा टाढा छु म मलाई टाढै रहन देऊ टाढा छु म मलाई टाढै रहन देऊ गरौँ उसैलाई माया धेरै म त ठुलो हुँदै होइन तिमी पनि होइन म त ठुलो हुँदै होइन तिमी पनि होइन त्यसभन्दा ठुलो अरू केही पनि छैन केही पनि छैन म त ठुलो हुँदै होइन म त ठुलो हुँदै होइन देश छ र गाउँहरू छन् बास बस्ने ठाउँहरू छन् गाहिने दाजैले सारङ्गी रेटेदामा हुरुक्कै हुनेछ मन मेरो ए साइना तिमीलाई देख्दामा हुरुक्कै हुनेछ मन मेरो ए साइना तिमीलाई देख्दामा सर्कस चाहिँ होइन अब जादुको संसार जस्तो नै लागेको थियो अनि त्यही भएर त्यहाँ मलाई चाहिँ जानु मन लागेको
त्यसपछि म 14 वर्षसम्म मेरो परिवारलाई भेट्न पाइनँ
भने अनि मम्मीहरूलाई चिन्छस् त भन्छ सबै बिर्सियो यस्तो होइन हामीलाई चाहिँ अब होइन इन्डियाबाट ल्याएको यस्तो उस्तो नभनोस् कि हाम्रो काठमाडौँ मेहनत गरेर बिचराको आम्बाउ नभएको बच्चाहरूले यस्तो ट्यालेन्ट देखाइरहेको छ
आफ्नो मनको हो कि आफ्नो मन बाँध्न सक्ने मनलाई जित्नुपर्छ नानी
मलाई भन्न लाज लाग्दैन हेर हामीले हाम्रो व्यथा सुनायौँ
The mountain children, they have to choose between their family or education. The children have to come here to get education because there's no school in the village areas. Once they reach here, there is no way that they can go back.
I am 17 years old and I have been staying here nearly 11 years.
When I came here, I was 4 years old.
I was sad that I was apart from my mom and dad. They don't love me. I'm very happy to be the part of Snowland. But I really miss my mom.
Now I'm packing my bag.
I'm very excited about the journey.
I'm going home to see my parents.
I'm going to meet my father.
I will throw my bag and take a big hug with her, and I think I will cry a lot.
That time will be one of the best memories of my life.
The journey home, it's much physically and emotionally demanding the children have ever done.
How am I gonna survive?
So the journey to my home is very dangerous.
Today it's very difficult day.
I'm very nervous. I asked my mother, why you send me away from you?
काठमाडौँमा जति पनि जल्दा बल्दा कलाकार गायकहरू अगाडि छन् नि तिनीहरूको पछि
कहाँ उल्टा सिधा नाम बोलाको मेरो नाम भक्तराज होइन बिर्स्यौ
मैं भारत सरकार की ओर से एक इंटेलिजेंस ऑफिसर हूँ और सीमा पे तैनात।
मुझे मालूम नहीं था कि नेपाल में आप जैसे सिंगर भी मौजूद हैं।
तपाईँ जानुहुन्न? हाँ जान
पक्का जानुहुन्न?
जाँदै जानु म
जानै जानुहुन्न?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Excellent video.
Yes. Namaste. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very well done. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Just I'm pleased to have had the opportunity to showcase these different aspects of the culture during the lunchtime and be able to promote this, the immense depth and beauty of which is intrinsic to the Nepalese culture. I thank everyone again for being part of the STARS Network and being here at this wonderful conference. And then I turn it again to Professor Mukherjee to your wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Namaste.
Excellent.
Hello. Am I audible? Sorry, my network actually gone. So I'm reconnected now. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
It's okay, sir.
Jivan sir, shall we start another session, or is there any changes on the time schedule?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Proceed. Sir, namaste. Prem sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Check that 140.
Good afternoon. Namaste. And good evening and late night, even for some of the panelists and colleagues. Thank you very much. Let us start another very interesting session, which is related to the higher education. So let me just quickly check. Actually, I'm Krishna Lamsal, MPhil scholar in third semester from Nepal Open University. And we are two person actually co-host, my colleague Shyam Prasad Pandey. So we will be actually facilitating this, moderating this session. So let me just quickly check whether our respected panelists are already with us or not. So, Dr. Rosalind, are you with us?
Yes, I am with us, and thank you very much.
Dr. Rosalind. She is actually from California. I think it's midnight. I think about 12 o'clock. I think midnight.
Yes, it is.
Krishna sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible now. You are audible now. Yes, sir. Continue.
Okay. Sorry, my network seems very unstable today, so you may need to cover me actually. Sorry for that. So I was just wondering, whether our panelists are already with us. So
yes, yes.
I might have missed.
One of them are present now.
I was just wondering whether Dr. Rosalind was with us.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Then what about Dr. Mousavi? Are you with us? Could you just please open your video? So I've seen. Okay. I've seen Dr. Prem already there. So welcome, Prem, in this session. So is Dr. Mousavi is with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Dr. Mousavi, are you there?
Yes, here. I'm waving.
Okay, yes, we are here. We are hearing you. Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So we have got three panelists, our very respected panelists, actually from different background and different experiences. So I think we will be benefiting actually to this panel discussion. So first of all, let me just quickly introduce our respected panelists. First, with Dr. Rosalind Ravi. Sorry, my pronunciation might not be correct. So anyway, she is from California State University and Department and Policy Studies. And Dr. Rosalind actually did PhD, and then she is the director of California Colleges for International CCIE, and it is a kind of non-profit consortium that represents. It's also the editor-in-chief for the Journal of Comparative and International Higher Education. In brief, it's called JCIHE. And JCIHE is always welcoming new submissions. I think that's a good opportunity for, we like, researchers. So, and that sounds.
Krishna sir, it's not audible. Sorry. Krishna sir, shall I continue?
Yes, you can. Oh.
Okay. Namaste everybody. I'm Syam Prasad Pandey. I'm one of the MPhil scholar in Nepal on Open University. My colleague Krishna was introducing Dr. Rosalind Rabi, and he was talking about a journal of comparative and international higher education. Dr. Rabi is the chief editor of this journal, and she is also a senior lecturer at California State University in educational leadership and policy studies department, and she was also involved in University of Phoenix. Welcome, Dr. Rabi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam sir, for covering it. Actually, I've got many problems. IT problem today. I'm very sorry for that. So let me just briefly introduce Dr. Mukherjee. Dr. Mukherjee works as an associate professor and deputy director of International Institute for Higher Education Research and Capacity Building at UP Jindal Global University. She also serves as a founding executive director of the Center for Comparative and Global Education and member secretary of Research and Ethics Review Board at the university. And Dr. Mukherjee received her PhD degree in education policy and leadership from University of Melbourne, specializing in comparative and cross-cultural education. Her doctoral thesis received a runner-up for the 2020 Gail P. Kelly Award. Congratulations for that, and outstanding doctoral dissertation by the Comparative and International Education Society. She has also received several awards for research excellence and community engagement. So Dr. Mukherjee has 20 years of teaching and research experiences in India, the United States, Australia, and Middle East. She is one of the research standing committee member of the Old Council of Comparative Education Societies. She has published many research articles in internationally peer-reviewed journal and edited books published by reputed academic publishers. And her specialties are inclusive education, sustainable development, social, cultural, and philosophical foundations, and in education and comparative and international education, language teaching, methodology, globalization, and educational policy reform and policy analysis. You are most welcome, Dr. Mukherjee, to this panel discussion. So,
thank you.
Let me quickly introduce Dr. Prem Phak. Currently teaches at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Hong Kong, and he has published a wide range of topics related to language policy, multilingualism, and teachers' education. His area of interest includes language, ideology, politics, English, critical pedagogy, and internationalization of higher education. He was actually, many of us may know that he was previously head of the English language education department at the Central Department of Education at Tribhuvan University. You are also most welcome, Dr. Prem, to this panel discussion.
Okay, thank you, KPG. So can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you. So now I would like to request my colleague Sam Pandey to facilitate the panel discussion. So I'll be here. I will just keep tracking of the questions, and then I will get back again. So may I request may I request Sam Pandey sir just to facilitate for the panel discussion.
Thank you
very much.
Welcome all panelists and all attendants at this conference in the panel discussion. So the topic of our discussion is internationalization of higher education. In the current trend, many students are migrating to other countries, especially the developed countries, to get their higher degrees. So in this situation, I'd like to first of all talk about the trend in the world. What kind of trend is there of the migration of students from one country to another? Whether there is only the migration of students from least developed or developing countries to developed countries, or there is vice versa as well. So in this aspect, I'd like to ask Dr. Rabi first to put her views on the trends of internationalization of higher education in the world. Dr. Rabi, please.
Thank you very much, and namaste. Thank you for this opportunity to be part of this panel. The internationalization of higher education is not just an entity for universities. It is also something that is embedded in other higher education institutions, such as community colleges and TVET colleges. These are institutions that are unique because they serve the people. They have widespread enrollment. They have open access, which means that they are enabling anybody who wants to study to be able to study. As such, there's tremendous diversity and acceptance of non-traditional students. The internationalization that we will talk about today is one that has widespread implications for change, as well as for the importance of opening up access and opening up opportunities for all students, not just those who are elite. The importance that I see in this type of inaction is that you want to be able to service rural students, urban students, rich students, and poor students. The opportunities must be given to them. And that is where we will begin with our discussion. TVET, Technical Vocational Education and Training, has long been seen as part of secondary education, but the new versions are bringing it into tertiary education and are impacting the importance of bringing in a post-secondary education to all students. There are institutions around the world called community colleges Some of them offer short cycle programs, other offer quick school to work programs, and others offer an academic education that will then enable students to transfer to a university to finish their education. At all of these levels, international education is a critical element because we do not live in isolation. What one country does impacts another, and vice versa. And most importantly, jobs in today's environment demand global literacy. To not provide this to a significant subsection of post-secondary tertiary students is problematic. However, what we're seeing is that this exists, and it's existed for many, many decades. At community colleges and TVET colleges, students study abroad. The colleges welcome international students. There's international collaborations. This is not just found in global North institutions, but it is found worldwide. I'm in the process now of documenting the different types of global engagement at community colleges and like institutions that are tying in what we could call useful curriculum, that the intent is to drive the global economy, but also to provide critical capabilities that allow the students themselves to take control in terms of becoming entrepreneurial, opening up small businesses, creating new pathways, and serving the larger community. Part of what we are looking at is the contribution to the UN sustainability goals. This includes providing cutting edge research. You cannot do this in isolation. There needs to be the sharing of ideas, the collaborations. And one of the things that's happening in the COVID world is a reimagining of how to communicate between institutions in a range of countries around the world. This is the sharing of curriculum, the sharing of pedagogical styles. This is creating a new foundation that I think will become very important in the years ahead. Also contributing to the UN sustainability goals are having an important part of civil society. The more educated, the more connected and engaged you are to society and becoming a working member. Students who study abroad or engage in international experiences have over their lifetime more connections to their society. They have more empathy. They have more connections. They build long-lasting friendships. All of this helps them become stronger workers. You also, in terms of this UN sustainability goals, need to produce students with a rigorous scientific mindset, a spirit of curiosity, entrepreneurial skills that are needed to generate solutions to current global problems. And again, all of this is part of what comes out of the international experiences. The different community colleges and like institutions are incorporating SDGs into their campus management, connections to societal responsibility, their sustainability management, energy saving measures, resource efficiency and waste reduction, teaching and research practices. What we can see is throughout the world, there are different ways in which internationalization is happening in these institutions. In Latin America, there is more of an emphasis on pedagogical collaborations. In the Philippines, on entrepreneurial skills taught at the TVET colleges. In Grenada, a small island in the Caribbean, the promoting of environmental skills, but working with other countries to be able to build new ideas. There's a belief that education based in community colleges leads to community growth. It enables social mobility. It also enables social sustainability. There is an attempt for having better gender equity, ethnic equity, and career guidance for youths that have been traditionally disenfranchised from the higher education system. There's also been environmental growth in terms of using green economies to ground studies and professions. And one of the things that international education cross-sects with all of these is through qualification frameworks, where there is a need for businesses and agencies to look at what is being taught, how is it being taught, and providing context for what is part of the educational process. Regional qualifications look at this beyond countries. So what is taught in one institutional program needs to be qualified on a regional level.
Excuse me, Dr. Ravi.
Yes.
Would you mind concluding within 1 minute?
1 minute, wonderful. What I would like to let everybody leave this idea with is that internationalization is not just for universities. It is found in institutions around the world, at the post-secondary, tertiary level, what ICED calls level 4 and level 5 institutions, and it is increasing. In areas where there's limited money, collaborations, especially with the internet, are occurring, such as what we're doing today in this conference, the sharing of ideas. I thank everybody for the opportunity to talk to you today about something that I have a passion for, and I appreciate being part of this very prestigious panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. We'll come to you again. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Mukherjee to talk about the trends of internationalization of higher education, especially in the context of Asian continent. Dr. Mukherjee, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shyamprasad Pandey, for and the Star Scholars Network for inviting me to this conference. Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Yeah.
I'm audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
For some reason, my computer screen has frozen here. I wonder what's going on.
It's okay for us.
I hope you're able to hear me, right?
Yeah. Please go on.
But I'm not able to see any of you. And will it be okay if the next presenter proceeds and let me try to reconnect with the system?
Okay, ma'am. In that case, I would like to ask Dr. Prem Phak.
Thank you. Thank you.
He has a wide range of experiences in Nepalese education system. Please, Dr. Phak.
Okay, Samji, what was the question? Can you repeat it again?
The trends of internationalization of education, especially in the Asian context.
Okay, so thank you. So before I begin my idea, so I would like to say that I'm not an expert in internationalization of higher education, although I have an interest in internationalization. So most of my my ideas today are from my experiences, real experiences working working in Nepal and in other universities. And I remember last year we had Tribhuvan University had organized a conference on internationalization of higher education. So I was also part of that organizing committee. So I can share some stories from that conference as well. So, but before, so just to come to your point, you were saying in the beginning that, you know, the Nepalese students are kind of like going to different countries every year. So a large number of students, mostly the United States and the UK, Australia, and other, you know, countries. So I think defining that kind of mobility of students as internationalization, I think that's not internationalization for me. So internationalization is not, you know, it's not just about studying or staying abroad, right? So internationalization, somebody, so I can see the chat message that the audience are not actually hearing what I'm speaking.
Yes, sir. We are hearing to you.
Very clear, sir. Very clear.
Mr. Prim is not visible. We cannot see Mr. Prim's.
Really?
We cannot see Mr. Prim's face. That's the problem.
Oh, really?
Okay, now we can see it.
Okay, thank you.
I rejoined the room. Actually, the screen froze for me also for a while. That's why I rejoined the room. I can see and I can also hear.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, what I was talking about is, you know, how we just how do we define internationalization? So as we see from kind of more like Nepali perspective, like most students are leaving the country for higher education in different countries abroad. So that's not, I think, internationalization. So we should really think or rethink internationalization from the perspective of let's say perspectives of knowledge building process, as well as the benefits that you know the students receive from their mobility to other countries. For example, although, for example, the Nepali students go to different countries, and I have been to the States and the UK to have my degrees. That's okay, and then it's a wonderful experience. But you know, but we should also be critical. So when we talk about internationalization, for example, whether their knowledge, the cultural practices are actually represented in curriculum, in you know in the system of the university or not. So there are examples of good curricular practices in universities, but there are examples of bad curricular practices as well, where international students, let's say international students, I do not see themselves, you know, do not see their identities, they do not see their cultural practices, do not see their knowledge there. So if it's not just bringing in students in universities, right, but also representing who they are in terms of their knowledge, maybe in terms of their language, in terms of their epistemologies, in terms of their identities. That's very crucial. And I can see by reading some of by reading some literature on international students' experiences in different country contexts, I think that's not done, and that's not really focused in the literature of internationalization. That's very important for me. So The second point that I would like to highlight is also the question of who gains and who loses, right? So it's not just like as Dr. Ravi said, internationalization is not just about a university as one institution in isolation, right? So university or internationalization of university represents internationalization of economy, internationalization of, in many ways, politics, internationalization of cultural values, internationalization of certain, let's say, knowledge system. So all those things are really important part of internationalization. And now my question is, and I think maybe my perspective is that the existing practices of internationalization does not actually necessarily focus on the question of whose knowledge system are represented in the whole system. When I say system, it may be it may include pedagogical practices, it may include curricular practices, it may include the ideologies that we would like to pass on to our students, all those things, right? So now, as you see that, in Asia, or particularly talking of the context of Nepal, most students go to study abroad, and the question is, whether the knowledge they have gained, let's say, in this, in different institutions, are actually kind of the knowledge that they are, they wish to have, or how is that knowledge helpful in their career, for example.
Would you mind concluding within 1 minute?
So now yeah, thank you. I think what I'm trying to say is basically we need to see internationalization from more critical perspective, right? So as I said, let me conclude. It's not just about mobility of students from one country to another country. We need to look at our systems, our curriculum, our pedagogies, the values that we embrace, and whether these are really inclusive, and whether they are representative or representing our students or not, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their cultural systems, and as I said at the end, whether they gain and the knowledge they have gained from those universities are really helpful in their career or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fak. We'll come to you again. Now, I'd like to invite again Dr. Vasavi Mukherjee. Please.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, apologize for the technical glitch before, and the fact that I couldn't speak when my turn came. But I'm happy that I am speaking for after Dr. Prem Pak spoke, because a number of the things that he mentioned, and also prior to him, Dr. Ravi mentioned, I will touch upon those issues from, as you mentioned, from a more of a Asian perspective rather than a North American perspective or a specific perspective of Nepal. Of course, I am also speaking from a specific perspective from India, coming from India, but I would like to begin what I have to share about this panel's topic on internationalization in the 21st century by actually looking back in history, because particularly in our Asian societies and cultures, as many of you should know, we believe in this very strongly, that time is not seen in terms of the kind of linear fashion of development like in many Western countries and cultures, and the past is not that disconnected from the present or the future. So taking this liberty from a cultural perspective, I would like to begin my talk this afternoon. It's actually afternoon here in India. It's 2 p.m. With a quote from the first Asian Nobel laureate in literature from India. Many of you must know his work more as a poet because he got the first Nobel laureate in literature from Asia. Was non-European to get this prize, but he actually spent his entire, almost more than half of his entire life as an adult, building a school and a university with internationalization as the main aim and motto in his mind. Just as local community development was very strongly in his mind, internationalization was also very strongly in, and he could not conceive of the notion of local community development without international cooperation and collaboration. As many of you know, in many of our indigenous cultures and societies, often there is references to the local as integrally interconnected and interdependent with what we call now as the global. If each and every species of life is interdependent and interconnected. And coming from this philosophical, very indigenous philosophical view, he spent almost most of his life dedicated to developing a school and a university with the internationalized with the internationalization as a framework in his mind for local community development within British colonial India. And here is this quote from Tagore, which was published in Vishwabharati News, the university that he set up. The name of the university itself was Vishwabharati. Bharati standing for India, Bharat, the indigenous name for India, and Vishwa is the world university in India. And this is straight a quote from Tagore on the purpose of university and higher education. University is there to offer us opportunity for working together in a common pursuit of truth, sharing together our common intellectual heritage to enable us to realize that artists in all parts of the world have created forms of beauty, scientists discovered secrets of the material universe, philosophers solved the problems of existence, saints made spiritual truths organic in their lives, not merely for some particular race to which they belonged, but for all mankind. When we understand this truth in a disinterested spirit, it teaches us to respect all the differences in man that are real, yet remain conscious of our oneness, and to know that perfection of unity is not in uniformity, but in harmony. I think this quote goes very well with also the theme of our conference this year, the Star Network Conference. That's why I wanted to begin with this quote from Tagore. And I'm sure all of you would agree that internationalization of higher education, of course, there are these instrumental reasons why we talk about internationalization of higher education. And lately, there has been an increased focus with regards to internationalization of higher education in terms of the kind of intercultural competence students can gain through this experience and immersion in international education. But it's not just the instrumental, aspect of international education. Say, for example, someone like Tagore, who was envisioning international school and university over 100 years ago during British India, he was really not thinking, of course, he was thinking about economics, he was thinking about local community development and development of the people through education. But at the same time, he was, even in the context of British India and the freedom movement, when race relationships uh, were not very, very good in terms of the British colonizers and the freedom fighters. Tagore took a very unique kind of approach in terms of decolonizing education, not just going back to our roots, but also realizing the indigenous wisdom and knowledge that was embedded in many of our societies and culture, where we look at each and every living species and each and every people in the planet as interconnected and interdependent. And this is something was at the core of also a lot of the Buddhist philosophy. And in ancient India, there were many Buddhist universities in the Indian subcontinent. Of course, those universities are non-existent right now, but scholars from all over Asia and Europe, they would come to these, even in the Far East, they would come to these universities, Buddhist universities. And international university has been ontologically international. Even if you think about universities in the European context, the Humboldtian model of university has been always international in terms of the university's role for knowledge creation, not just knowledge creation through research and scientific engagement, but also, as Tagore highlighted in this particular quote, creating forms of beauty and art also. Not just exploring scientists exploring the material universe, but also philosophers solving the problems of existence, and saints making spiritual truths, organic in the lives of people, and artists creating different forms of beauty and art. So universities have been ontologically meeting point of people coming from diverse races, cultures, different kinds of ethnic backgrounds. And this is something Tagore sought to revive during British India. Unfortunately, the modern universities that were set up within the colonies like ours, were not set up with this kind of purpose. Like the three oldest modern university within the Indian subcontinent that was set up in mid 1800 during British India in colonial Calcutta, colonial Chennai, and colonial Bombay, were not set up in that model of international model of knowledge creators, right? They were set up more as testing centers for training civil servants and professionals to meet the needs of the colonial political economy. And this is something that Tagore sought to subvert through the establishment of a school and university. I think in the 21st century, particularly for former colonial nations, post-colonial nations like ours, we need to look into our own history. Yes.
Would you mind concluding?
Yes, I am actually concluding. This is my last sentence. I think we need to look at this rich history of ours that we already had, and we need to rediscover this model of international higher education and university for knowledge creation, for problem solving, and also for creation of forms of beauty, and the kind of cross pollination of ideas that can happen only when people meet each other across cultural differences, across all kinds of ethnic and all kinds of man-made differences and barriers. And with that, I would like to conclude and would be open to hear more questions from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. Now, we have heard the perspective of our panelists on our topic. we will go to them once again for the way forward. What should the world do, especially the university do, to internationalize the higher education? As Dr. Pak said, not only migration of students, but also the internationalization of knowledge, internationalization of skills, and so on. So in that aspect, I'm going back to Dr. Ravi for the way forward, and we should conclude within 3 minutes, Dr. Ravi. We are running out of time. Dr. Ravi, please.
Thank you. Internationalization begins with a goal, that internationalization is important, that it is a pillar of higher education, and that it serves students and contributes to their success. Embedding it in the mission statement, including it in the vision statement, including it in the annual priorities, designating a person to help lead the efforts, providing that person with mid to senior level administrative positioning, support of the faculty senate, support of the student government, as well as an active committee that embodies a wide representation of stakeholders. Putting those together enables the institution to move forward with change. Oh, yeah, I forgot budget. You need to have a designated budget to be able to enable with all of the activities. With that in place, the institution can start to reimagine what is internationalization to them. Is it going to be widespread and all-encompassing, or is it going to be specific, looking at a specific programmatic type? When I do work with community colleges, my advice is to make it comprehensive, to start with the internationalization of the classroom, to make sure that every class that is taught includes an international component, that students cannot graduate from the institution without having international experiences on campus. We can then move to off-campus international collaborations via technology, as well as other types of research endeavors. So I will stop here and allow my other panelists to have their suggestions.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. I would like to now go to Dr. Fack. So what's your opinion on this aspect, Dr. Fack?
Yes, I think this is a very difficult question and there is no definite answer. So the first thing that I would like to highlight is we need to critically look at our system practices and governance in higher education. The first thing, so we need to actually critically look at where are we now and what should we be doing. So that's a critical evaluation first. So the second, I think we need to rework on, so particularly from looking at the Nepali higher education scenario, I could see that we need to change on our governance, operation, and support system that we have now. So hiring international faculty, enrollment of international students. I think that's not what we have done so far, right? I can see that when universities open up jobs, so the line that I see is very discriminatory. So we say that only Nepali citizens can apply. So that's not the character of international university, right? So any faculty can apply, right? So but it is shaped by local socio-political context as well. But there has to be something to move forward. Second, I think we need to look at our academic and program elements as well. For example, how are our courses in terms of internationalization, and also teaching courses, and maybe I really like the idea of research collaboration, not necessarily internationalization, but collaboration is always two-way, which is very important. And also providing opportunity to our students. Our students, particularly in Nepal, don't see the opportunity beyond their classroom and the scope of teachers, faculty. And most importantly, equal opportunity and diversity, which is most important character of all universities, and which is more important if you think of internationalizing our higher education institutions. So equal opportunity diversity includes linguistic, cultural, racial, ethnic, gender, all those identities having really respectful and equally represented space in higher education. So that's why what I'm saying is basically we need to rethink of our system that we are in now, and see how we can really work on that. So that's what my thoughts are on.
Thank you, Dr. Fak. Now I would like to go to Dr. Mausami.
Thank you. I totally agree with both my panelists, Dr. Rabi and Dr. Fayak. In fact, I began my talk this afternoon with a historic reference to Tagore and his efforts during British India a century ago. But I have done research on this and written on the problem of sustainability of what Tagore tried to do 100 years ago. And now a number of the things that Dr. Rabi and Dr. Fayak has highlighted has been the reason why the Tagorean project did not sustain as it sustained, frankly speaking, post-independence in India. Even though within the British era, the institution was set up with this kind of an internationalization framework, but post the Tagore era, the institution really failed to sustain the levels of funding, the kind of international faculty and staff recruitment that Tagore did during his time, and also the focus on internationalization of curriculum, which included also teaching of multiple foreign languages. In fact, the first Chinese Studies Center, Tibetan Studies Centers, all these were set up during British era in India. But unfortunately, the post-colonial, and I think it's very, very similar situation in Nepal also, post-independence, in the post-colonial era, somehow the higher educational institutions in India became increasingly more insular in terms of faculty recruitment and even in terms of student recruitment. We have as little as around 48,000 total international students, actually majority of them coming from Nepal, in spite of this very small numbers, and also creating the necessary ecosystem, as Dr. Fayak very nicely highlighted. We need to create a more inclusive ecosystem for both international faculty and international students within higher education context, and also the necessary funding and resources that Dr. Rabi highlighted is really necessarily very necessary and important. But now we also need to think about the post-COVID context and the limitations on physical mobility that we are all facing. You see, in spite of all the technological disruptions, particularly those of us who are embedded in the developing world right now, and issues of access to digital technology and the levels of bandwidth we need to join in a platform like that, but still, I think the new advances in media and technology can still be leveraged to facilitate research collaborations, not just research collaborations, but also co-teaching courses across, physical geopolitical boundaries, and so that not just those few privileged, those who have the resources to go for study abroad, get the benefit of study abroad, so that even the students who are back home, and this is one of the reasons, I'm sure Dr. Rabi must be very much aware of this, increasingly in the internationalization literature, there has been also a lot of focus on what is being called as internationalization at home, in terms of internationalizing the curriculum and also giving the domestic students the international exposure that they need. And I think a lot can be done now through the help of the new technology, through the kind of technology that has actually enabled us from different parts of the world to come together in this Zoom room. Dr. Park in Hong Kong, me in India, Dr. Rabi in California, all of you in Nepal, and I know there are several people in this Zoom room in all different parts of the world. So I would really strongly encourage leveraging all these, because the kind of research and new knowledge creation is what is really they are the real drivers of development. Okay, and this can only happen through cross-pollination of ideas. And I think a lot of the research that is now going on, even in the context of the pandemic, is a good example to show, to demonstrate and tell us that how important cross-national collaborations are. And higher education is the space where we can actually really do this. But also, as Dr. Rabi highlighted, we can start thinking about also embedding it further down the, from the K through 12 level itself, from the schooling sector. A more international mindset and international minded approach, something what Tagore was envisioning into doing during British era through his school and also through the university. But though the primary goal for him setting up the school and the university was local community development, rural development. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. Now I'd like to ask my colleague KP Lamsal for any queries from the audience. Dr.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for very nicely, facilitating the panel discussion. So I think we are running out of time. Just 2 minutes is left. So let me just pick up few questions actually. But I hope some of the questions are already answered by our respective panelists related to how Nepal can be prepared for kind of inviting international students. So I think that sort of questions are partially already answered. But some of the questions actually they wanted to hear from Dr. Prem. So basically that is related to specifically how Nepal can maintain the international standard and what sort of facilities. I think he already touched upon that sort of things. He provided very nice observation. What's, categorically, what should we do actually to invite Nepal, international students and also international faculties. So I think he already touched upon. We don't need to repeat that. But if you would like to aid, just in 30 seconds or something, Dr. Prem.
Oh, I think maybe I'm not the right person to answer this. I wish I could be a VC. Okay, but anyway, so my answer is just I think we need to look at what are the resources we have, right? So, and what are the small things that we can change. So the first thing could be, for example, looking at our existing policies, as I have highlighted. So in Nepal's higher education policies, internationalization, as Dr. Rabi has said, it's not in our mission statement. Maybe now they are changing, but we need to really look at that. Internationalization is part of our mission statement, and that includes, kind of revisions, assessment of curriculum, the pedagogy, even the enrollment of the students and hiring international faculties and all those things. So, and we can't really think of internationalization by hiring, in the existing hiring policy saying that only Nepalese can apply in this job, right? So it's something like, still we are reproducing that boundaries, right? Our let's say national boundaries, and not really embracing the idea that university professors are universal citizens, or universities are universal, right? So I think we need to really go beyond that ideology.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Prem. Thank you very much for your nice idea. So I think there was one question about how internalization begins with ego. Actually, that question was supposed to go to Dr. Ravi. So would you like to just share in few seconds? Sorry, I think we almost crossed the time.
It starts with your vision.
Okay.
It starts with your desire, your interest to go beyond your local boundaries, and the passion to be able to create change and sustain that change.
Okay. Thank you very much. So may I just request Dr. Mausami, if you have anything, last word, I mean, for today.
Last word.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm very sorry because we're running out of time, so that's why. But today, I mean, if you want to put anything, please.
I think both my colleagues in the panel have very nicely laid out, as Dr. Fak said, that universities are universal and we are universal citizens, right? And as Dr. Ravi said, it's very, very true. It's very important to embed it into the mission of the university, and we need to. Of course, the post-colonial sentiments in countries like Nepal and India is very strong, and often policy making, when it happens, politicians are very much cognizant of these post-colonial sentiments, and that gets into the policy making, which creates all these barriers that Dr. Fayak was talking about with regards to faculty recruitment, with regards to even curriculum. How curriculum is designed, and we cannot forget the fact that we don't live, even if we think about decolonizing, and that's the reason I brought in Tagore into the discussion. Even if we think about decolonizing, we need to go into our indigenous philosophy, and we need to embed in the vision statement of our universities the indigenous philosophy. And if we would do that, our indigenous philosophy will only tell us that we need to think internationally, because the very concept of nation state itself is a very Westphalian, concept, coming out of the Treaty of Westphalia. Our indigenous philosophies have always taught us to think internationally, right? And even though we are acting locally, to think globally, as people say. So if we would embed that into the mission statement of universities itself, I think we would see a much better future in the long run. Because as long as we would remain, parochially rooted, we will become isolated from the rest of the world, and we cannot survive in isolation. Human life cannot survive in isolation. We need to create a more welcoming and inclusive ecosystem, and universities and educational institutions are the place, at the most important social institution where we can actually do that, bring people across all kinds of religious difference, ethnic difference, cultural difference, racial difference. As a social institution, university really provides us that space to do that.
Okay,
right?
Thank you very much, Dr. Mausami. Actually, I think we because of time constraint, actually, we were very sorry. Actually, we were interrupting you because you know our limitation. I mean, so we have already finished our given time, even 5 minutes. More than our given time. So thank you very much. Very nice. Experiences and thoughts we have got, and I hope all participants we benefited from this panel discussion. So I would like to thank all the three panelists very much. On behalf of moderator and also organizing committee, I'd like to thank you very much. Very nice to have you in this session. So we'll keep in touch anyway. So if we miss some questions, anyway, for participants, anyway, we will have opportunity to answer question answer, format in our website. So we'll have that opportunity. We may request our respected panelists, if you want to answer some of the questions if we missed because of time limitation, we would highly appreciate your, inputs and further contributions. So we will get back to you. Thank you very much. Very nice, to have you. Yeah, thank you, Shyam sir.
Thank you for the opportunity for moderating.
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. So now we will move to another session. So maybe, yes, Mr. Pushparaj will be the keynote speaker, I think. Is that fine?
Sir, I'm present here.
Sir?
Thank you, KP sir. I'm here.
Okay, sir. Please.
I'm here in the session.
Is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ellen, are you here? Dr. Ellen, are you here in the session? This session is a keynote speech by Dr. Ellen.
Yeah, Pushpa sir, Professor sir, she has sent me the PowerPoint presentation, but she is still not there, so contact.
Yes, she was contactless, really. I also write many emails to her, but she didn't respond any. So, Dr. Ellen, are you here in the room?
She has sent me the email and the PowerPoint today, but she's not here, so...
Yeah, I think we have to drop her session then.
Okay, just wait, I'll contact her.
Sorry, Kono sir, you are muted.